always want to be on stage. Thank you, yeah. So first of all, thank you all for coming. This is our first event in the week. It's not going to be our last. This meant a lot to me to help put this on. We've got a great staff of people in the Essex County veterans that really put this together. We've got Don Jarvis, who is hiding somewhere, who's Donnie has ideas, okay? This was one of his ideas. So, where's Donald? Help Donald come up here. But, so really, for David, I'm sorry, you blended in. But, so really, we've got a short presentation today. Kendall's a guy, where are you, my dear? Kendall's going to do the national anthem. And
oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
First of all, as selected for the town of Newbury, I want to welcome you. Okay. And I also want to recognize Senator Bruce Stein, who's here. Okay, and State Rep William is here. I want to thank the Boy Scouts for helping out. Knocked it out of the park. So we have a second to put allegiance together, all right? I pledge allegiance
to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I forgot you just, I'm the selectman in town too, so welcome to the town. Okay, so the last thing is, we're gonna quick what we're gonna be doing before we eat. Jean Doyle is here. She's my stepmom. She wrote a book, which with Jean. She was a history teacher at Newport High School. Okay, and when she got her students to do an oral history of the veterans of the greatest generation. My dad was one of them. So, Dad's here, okay? But I want her today, she's gonna give a quick talk about what her interactions were. So, I'm gonna end it. So somebody just hand this down to Jean, and we'll get the show started. Thank you, Senator.
show what people go through with people, the part they played in World War II. And I had the opportunity in 1995, because one of the superintendents wanted me to work with, do something for him. And I had an opportunity to interview all of my classmates, all the servicemen that were still alive in 1995. There were many of them. We have their own stories, and we used it at the time for reading and things like that. But I was never really satisfied with that. And I thought it could be used elsewhere. So I saved all those stories and everything, so that later on I would use them, and I have. And that's why I'm very proud to be able to present this to you. Well, they've given me 20 minutes, and so I want to explain just what it is. I'm going to start out with Joe Doyle. That happens to be Michael's father. He was against wars to begin with anyway, but when the war came, he volunteered and signed up for the Navy, and they told him that he'd be in charge of yeomen. So that was great for him. That would suit him just fine. He never ever saw a yeoman, because what they needed at that time was what they called amphibious landing. Nobody wanted to be part of the amphibious landing. It's the word job, and it was all right. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the worst possible job you could have. And none of either the Army, the Navy, or the Marines would have any part of it. So outsiders are going to do it. To make a long story short, he will end up to be the second in command of this particular boat he's going to be on. He knew nothing about boats. I came from Joffre, and believe me, the kids down at Joffre knew something about it. He had a college education, first person in the family to get it. So he's going to have that. So they sent him to Princeton for 9 months. In Princeton, they had no boats or anything. All they could have was written word. So by the time he came back, he didn't know any more about it than he did before. So now he starts out, his first place he's going to go is to Bermuda. So some of the people went off while they were there, and that was a storm. 12 people died. That's quite a beginning of your first part. And they've got to wait for those 12 to be replaced. In the meantime, discuss a little of what's happening with the boat. These boats that were built in the United States. They have no idea if they're going to make it across the ocean. They're just taking a chance. They have a flat bottom, whatever that means. And so in that period of time, it took a long time to get over there, but he finally gets to Gibraltar. What I'm going to do is tell you what happens after Gibraltar very quickly. So he goes to Anzio and all those places. He's in Missouri. Sometimes they put him in there as a policeman. He had no knowledge of police. He didn't speak French or anything. That was a waste of the time. He's a great storyteller, and he has a lot of stories to tell, but he doesn't want to talk about death. And so anything you read about him is going to be very interesting. They're wonderful stories, but you have to remember that. By the time he gets to Sicily, Patton has had a big problem. Patton, has slapped a soldier in the hospital. I remember that thing. And he's out of commission for a while. So now he's headed up into Sicily. And there's many, many landings there. I think what he did in Sicily was as difficult as what he's going to be doing later on. So anyway, from there, all of a sudden they decided his boat's going to go back to England. All the way back to England, because he's going to take part in the greatest thing they'll ever have, the greatest program we'll ever have. And so on June 3rd, 1944, he so they load this ship with all the equipment on it, and they're heading off to it. I don't know where they go. Anyway, just 1 minute, because I have my notes.
I'm over the line. Wait till we get notes.
Okay.
Hold on.
Normandy. They're headed to Normandy. And if you all know what happened at that time, the weather's bad. These men stay in their boats all that time for 3 days. And as far as he's concerned, how are they ever going to do anything? But finally, they decide they're going to go ahead with it. And then, so now he's on the landing. He's on the first day, obviously. His goal is to take the men up on the beach and go to take the boat off. The trouble is, you can't stop for anything. There's people drowning in front of you, you can't stop. You have to take every one of those men off on the beach. By the time they get back, then they start loading the people who are injured. But they can't leave because the tide's not right now. They've got to wait there till the next tide changes. Meanwhile, they're bombing overhead and everything. This is not a very good situation. He will do that day after day for a long time, bringing them in, taking them out, and all. But we're going to leave him now, and we're going to go to the next person. Now, the next person is Harold Reeder. He's an aviation cadet. He's just started, and what he has to do is go to Goose Bay, Labrador. Well, they have a lot of trouble when they get there. They're not very familiar with the things they're using and everything. And that ended up being a disaster. And it ended up they had to put everything overboard. The only way they could get out, they did find someone who could give them some lead, tell them where they could go. And they did end up, without anything that they were supposed to be bringing over, they got to Ireland. Afterwards, Harold has a great time because he has the opportunity to be part of one of the bombers. There are hundreds of those bombers, but he will end up being in one of the leading bombers of all. And it's a tremendous story about him and everything. At one point, though, they ran out of fuel, and they landed in France. The people in France managed to find enough to get them up in the air again. But for 3 days, everybody thought they were lost, and they didn't think they would return. And then they went on. Great Britain was there, and bombing Czechoslovakia, Poland. And now we're going to do another one. Gene Colombo. Now he's a young one. A young one's a quite different. And when we first hit him, he's already had a problem with the tank. He's got out of the tanks. And he's already been lost 2 of them. And he's headed to a Monte Casino. Yes. Thank you.
Wet the whistle.
Now the casino is run by the Germans, and the Americans tried very, very hard. They can't make it. But the British came in, they said, okay, we'll take over, we'll do it. They tried, they didn't make it either. But meanwhile, he's out, and he's on the land he shouldn't be on, he's on enemy's land. And he wants to get off. He's looking to be able to go and get off to the river there. Meanwhile, 2 young men show up. They have no experience whatsoever. He tells them he's going to dive into the water, what he's going to do. And they said, we don't swim. So that's going to be a problem. So what he did, he dove in, and when he got there, he told them, he said, I know you can't swim, but you can move your legs at least. Now hold out the one, this is just talking to one of them, hold out your hand, and I'll pull you in. And he did. He made it with the first one. The second one, however, didn't work. He missed it by about 3 inches. And it will never leave his mind. He will feel that for the rest of his life that he wasn't able to save that young man. If you heard part, we're able to hear the documentary we have. We would hear his voices and everything, and it's one of the most important we have. The next is Bill Plant. He's been in the United States all this time, and he's done a lot of good things there and everything. But as far as they're concerned, the war is going to be over. What they don't realize is the Germans are going to make one last effort. So they send people like him over there, and we're to come to find out what we end up with is the Battle of the Bulge, which will turn out to be one of the worst battles in history. But what he does, he did a lot. He went into Berlin, he made some deals there, but he's not going to get home in any hurry because he's late going in. So that's his problem. Now, I mentioned that we're going to have one from this woman is Virginia Lowell. Now, let's go back to the beginning when I'm on Purchase Street here, and all these guys are hanging around. We live right next to the library there.
We bring out the whiskey later.
And when Pearl Harbor comes, everything's going to change. I'm already in Newbury by then. I'm 10 years old. I moved to Newbury, but I come home quite a bit. I know what's going on. So now we have Pearl Harbor, and all these people now are going into the service. And Virginia moves back to Newburyport. Now she's typical of a woman. She's got a child. She can't come out working and everything. She has no car. She has no telephone. All she can do is every day go up and take the baby in the stroller, go up and hope to find some food, and that is not always available. She's had a hard life, and it's very typical of these women. What they're doing, the hope is to save their man, and she does that all those years. So the years go by, and my sister, she's a year younger than my sister. Many years have gone by. Most of these people are gone, but Virginia Lowell still lives. She now is 97 years old, which I think is quite old. And so that's why I wanted to mention her. She lives next door to me. I can't see her very much, and people think things we have to deal with. But now there's one more. Vietnam. Vietnam comes up. Now, I've got two sons that have aged to go to Vietnam. First one, the oldest, doesn't want anything to do with it, and he can tell you a lot about why he's not interested in that law. But the second one is anxious to go. He's in high school, he's anxious to go, and he ends up going. And we will have no idea of how much he did over there or anything. But when finally he came home after his time of duty and everything, his mentor came to see my husband. So I wanted to tell him how lucky we were that he was still alive, because he was a restless guy. He was over here and doing the job he's supposed to do, but there's nothing to do now, so now he's up in a plane doing something else. That's the way he was, and that's the fact that I was interested in to see the action that he took there. Now, we were lucky when I went to do the thing I did on the documentary. By the time I did the documentary, there were only 3 people in Newburyport that still are alive in Newburyport. That's how many had left. But we had all their stories. So we were able to use those stories. And because we were so late doing it, all you had to do at that time, you want a picture of the submarine? You got a picture of the submarine. Anything that you wanted, you could do a picture of. So our documentary has the opportunity to do that type of thing. It is full of pictures and things like that. And I will have to say that I'm very happy to be the mother of a veteran and the one for 2 kids. And I thank you for hearing me, and I hope you have a chance, if you do, to open that particular quantity, and you just watch it a little at a time, and I think you will be very pleased if we can touch anything on the Pacific or anything. So there are many, many men with many different episodes in their lives for you to see. Thank you for hearing me.
Gene, thank you very much. Gene's written 2 books, by the way. Life of the Report, one's from 1900 to 1950, and then 1950 to 1985. I'm trying to get into a third, but you won't. But the thing is, she also has done documentaries, which we were saying, you can go on YouTube, just type Jean Doyle on YouTube, World War II. She did one on the Irish, she did one on the French Canadians. She's done some really neat work. So if you get a chance, go on YouTube and see what she's done. She's mad I couldn't put the whole show on. But let's get this, keep going. We get back up on the stage here. Senator Town. Senator Zach, come on up, please. I think the mic. Okay. So I'd like to introduce Senator Bruce Town, who's going to say a few words.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, and good afternoon. And I want to first say thanks again to June for the work that you did to document all of those stories and to be able to share them with us today, and even more importantly, for us to have the opportunity to continue to understand those stories and have access to them so that we can more deeply understand the experiences that so many have undergone so that we could have the freedom and the democracy that make this the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And that's what's important about this afternoon for me. And I want to say thank you to everyone who's responsible for putting this together. Certainly our Veteran Service Officer, Karen Tyler, her good work. Mike, to you for your role in putting this together. For the folks here at the Byfield Arts Center for giving us a place to gather on a pretty chilly fall afternoon. But this place is not only warm physically, it's warm spiritually. And that's what's important about this opportunity that we have to gather together. First, to do something that we should never fail to do. And that is whenever we have the opportunity to say thank you to the men and women who made a commitment and made it part of their lives to support allowing us to do everything that we cherish in our lives by putting themselves in harm's way. But second, to be able to look at each other across a table and to be able to understand that we're all people, and to understand the humanity of the sacrifice that was made by men and women who took time at a very young age in many, many cases, and went to a faraway land and placed themselves in harm's way and came face to face with a hostile enemy that threatened our way of life. When we have an opportunity like we do this afternoon to sit and talk, walls come down a little bit, barriers might go away, and we have a chance to learn about the character and the integrity and the patriotism of the men and women who have served our country through so many years, from the time when a group of American farmers at a field in Lexington and Concord faced the greatest army the world had ever known, and said that democracy and freedom are so important to us that we will sacrifice everything in our lives. And they pledged to each other, in the words of the Declaration of Independence, their sacred honor. And ever since that day, that honor has been upheld. It's been upheld by people of many different eras, many different conflicts, but with one common thread, a love of America that was so strong. It was so strong that it compelled them to make physical and emotional sacrifices. Some who were lost on the battlefield, some who continue to bear those same scars today. And when we talk about that, it gives us a chance to understand and support each other and respect the men and women to whom I'm referring. So thank you to everyone who's made it possible. This is a special time, a time not just to say thank you, which is critically important, but also to say we understand, We care. We want to hear more. And we will be there. We will be there in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to support you, just as you have supported us. May God bless all of the men and women who have served and continue to serve, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
I'd like to bring to the stage now Representative Mara.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Senator Tar. One of the most difficult parts of this job is having to follow Senator Tar to speak in engagement, but thank you, Bruce, for those wonderful and kind words. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for everyone who put this together, and thank you to everyone who came out today. You know, especially now at a time when our nation may seem hopelessly divided, you know, it's quite often veterans that remind us and bring us together, and why we're all here. You know, just very briefly, I want to mention a couple of bills that we just talked about on Beacon Hill just last week. The first was by Representative James Arceri of Westford. This is a bill that will expand access to mental health care for veterans in higher education by creating a continuing education program to train counselors on the symptoms of conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder, something that we very much need. The second bill was by Representative Linda Dean Campbell of Bethune and David Vera of Fallon. And they're going to establish a commission to design a memorial at the State House for Deborah Sampson, a hero of the American Revolution who disguised herself as a man in order to serve in the Continental Army. I'm proud to say both these bills passed unanimously. And, you know, it's part of a promise that we made to the men and women who served, because when they swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, they made a commitment to all of us. And at the same time, we as a nation incurred a sacred obligation to them upon their return home to heal their wounds, to rebuild their lives, and to care for their survivors. I just want to mention a couple of quotes from two of my favorite presidents. The first by Abraham Lincoln, over 150 years ago, who said our nation has a sacred obligation to, as he put it, care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow, and for his orphan. And these words, in fact, are inscribed above the entrance of the Department of Veterans Affairs in our nation's capital. They're spoken at every Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And finally, let us also take pride as we remember the words of President John F. Kennedy, who proclaimed, "Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty." And so to the brave men and women serving today, and to their families, I want to say thank you for your service and your sacrifices. A grateful nation honors you today. Thank you.
We have a proclamation to be read, and I forgot who's doing the proclamation. Yeah, okay. Yes. One second.
Hi, we are representatives from the local high school, and we're reading the proclamation by Governor Charles Baker. Whereas since the Commonwealth's colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas on November 11th, 1918, the armistice was signed in the forest of Campion by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. After 4 years of conflict, and whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans, and whereas there are approximately 388,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country, and whereas we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage. And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And whereas in November 2019, the world will commemorate the 101st anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Now therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2019 to be Veterans Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take the cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston, this 11th day of November, in the year 2019, of the independence of the United States of America, the 243rd.
So I think I have one more speaker to bring up, and that would be Karen. I can't say enough good words about her. I've only known her for 3 months, 6 months maybe, since I've been on the board. But this woman does a lot for the veterans, and she's been a great person to work with. So Karen, come up, say a few words, please.
All right, and thank you, Claudia. That was beautiful. You did a great job. So I'm Karen Tyler. I'm the Veteran Service Officer for Newbury. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were recognized as Newbury residents, as veterans, and so that way we could say thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the two people I work with, my great team here. I have Kathy in the back and Jean right here. My office the way that that we do, and I think that I'm very lucky to have them. I also wanted to take this time to let you guys know that we've made a commitment to go out into the different communities, and so that way I can be accessible. I did start office hours here in Newbury. It's going to be at the Council on Aging on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So the next time I'll be there is Tuesday the 19th. So if you have any questions about benefits or anything, I would love to speak with you and see what you're eligible for. All right, so, and I also want to recognize the Rusty Can, who was generous enough to donate the food for us here today. So enjoy your lunch.
The last thing I'd like to say is I was told by Don that it's Marine's birthday today. All right. So, and if you haven't seen this cake before we eat it, it's really something to look at. So once again, thank you for coming. Thank you for your service. Let's eat.